Okay, now on to CAD. So with CAD, I learned CAD the hard way. I never saw a CAD when I first started, and so my very first CAD I went into, I kind of came in a little hot, and I basically just said, hey, what's going on, man? So good news, your house qualifies, we can do it. Here's what it looks like, and then started chatting with him. Problem was I didn't understand how the process worked to kind of get it done after all was said and done to transition. So I soon realized that you have to switch that order. As you come at someone hot, they're going to pull away and back off a little bit. So as you're kind of there, casual, assuming the whole thing, they're more likely to just let it happen. So with CAD, if you do a good job with everything leading up to CAD, CAD's the simplest thing you'll ever do. If you do a sale where you get everything, if you do a swing by visit, if they text you back after or if they text you a response saying, yeah, that's fine, when you text them to set up the CAD for the time that you set it, there's a really good chance that you're going to get that install. It's going to be quick, and you're moving on. So the process for it is what you see here. I realized that I was using a light marker, so I darkened it up a little bit, but I didn't want to go back because this is all my first take on all these, so what you see is what you get here. So you chat with them, just kind of BS a little bit, ask what questions they have, and then you go to the presentation. So chat, basically what you want to do here, just obviously you want to be a normal person, you want them to remember why they like you, that type of stuff. I'll just say with the questions, I just say, so what questions came up? As I'm selling it, my initial sale, I'll say you're going to have some questions that pop up. Sometimes the other day I had a sale and he was saying, oh, I'm going to make sure I do my research and all this stuff. I was like, that's great, that's what I want you to do. I made sure that I said, if you have a question that pops up, if you see something on the internet that you don't like or have questions about, just let me know, just write it down. When I swing back by, I'll go over any questions you have. That way they don't see it and then just cancel. They see it and say, oh, I'm going to write this one down because you told me to, and then they write it down. Again, little things like that are going to make it so you actually will get more installs. So, questions, sometimes those come up, sometimes not. If you did the swing by and they ask you some questions, they might not pop up. There's a chance that you're going to be overcoming some objections here, whatever. The nice thing about this is the problem with doing a CAD presentation where you say, where you show them everything and then ask what questions they have, after you've answered their objections, at some point there has to be a time where they say, okay, you've answered my objections sufficiently and I'm ready to move forward, or it can be kind of awkward. So what this does is it allows you to overcome their objections, and then by you moving on to the presentation, no one has to say anything. It's implied that because you moved on and they're okay with you moving on, that their objections have sufficiently been answered. So that, again, another small thing that makes a big difference. So when I present the CAD, I actually have, there's not a lot of times where I say, what you say makes a difference. I feel like this line, since I've implemented it, my closing percentage, and I don't know if it's this, but it went from 75% of the accounts that I got CADs back for, I installed, to 85%. And it was right around this time, so I don't know. I really like this line and it's helped me a lot. But so I pull up two things. I pull up the customer welcome packet and I pull up the installer packet. And as I have the first page pulled up here, just the welcome part, so I have that pulled up in front of them so they can see, oh, dear Gotra family, this is my house, my landlord, by the way. Thank you for choosing Vivint Solar. I want them to start seeing that, and as they're reading that, I'm telling them this stuff. So I'll pull this up and I'll say, I get a couple of questions. There's two questions that I get from people. One is people say, now that I have solar, is my electricity different? The reason I say now, they say now that I have solar, or I respond and say now that you have solar, is because I want them to understand that I'm here, I've answered your objections, I'm now showing you this, which means you have solar. It's done. I'm not asking, their house qualified, therefore they get it. Nobody can convince me that someone has a preference of getting electricity from coal and fossil fuels rather than the sun. No one cares, right? So what they care about is making a decision. So if we just do it for them and assume the whole time, it's a lot easier and it'll just go through. So I'll say they ask if the electricity is going to be any different. I know that might sound silly, but when you flip the light switch, the lights turn on, it's not brighter, it's not dimmer. The only thing that's different is you're getting it from the sun instead of getting it from the power plants out of state or whatever. So then the next thing I say is the other question I get, or people want to know how it works with like paying for the electricity. So you guys are used to paying for electricity as you use it. Now that you have solar, again I say it, now that you have solar, you'll actually pay for electricity as the sun's out. And that's when I take my time to explain this to them. So this is how your bill is going to work now, just so that's clear for them. I don't want any questions later on down the road. So I explain that. Really the only reason that I have that pulled up is so that I can say this line, now that you have solar. I just want to say that a couple times so they know this is happening and you're not going to stop me. So then what I'll do is I'll pull this out, the installer pack, and say this is where the system's going to go, this is where the panels are going to go. This is probably similar to what most of you guys do. This is where the panels are going to go. There are this many panels, blah, 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 blah. I usually will show them this page and say, this is the reason they're putting them there. Like I told you, we want to make sure you're getting efficient sun. So this part of your roof, you actually get this many sun hours. Anything above this is a ton, so that part of your house, you guys get beat up with sun, so that's really good. It makes them feel like, hey, our house is good for this is for us. Gives them, yeah, it makes them excited for some reason. And then I scroll down and just say, I explain the offset. So this is your offset, this is what that means, you're getting this much of your power. So one thing that's important, in my opinion, is you want to make sure you really understand the system before you go to their house. You want to know how you're going to approach it. If they're only getting 60% of their power, you have to know that, or they have to know that this makes sense for them in their situation. So if they're only getting 60% of their power, it's got to be, look, the majority of your savings comes in the first 60% of your power. Like I said in the very first time we talked, our main goal is to get you out of the top 2 tiers. We did that. You're 100% out of those top 2 tiers, so this is perfect, right? You have to sell it like that so they understand that, instead of saying, you know, it's only 60%, 60% is good, you're going to save some. The reason we couldn't do more is this. If you're telling them the reason you couldn't do more is this, then they're thinking, well, it sounds like more is better, instead of, hey, we can do this much, that's all that matters, right? So the other thing, and I didn't add this here, but this is the transition. What I see a lot, and this is again, deals are lost because sales aren't moved. If you get through all this and you do it perfectly, there's literally not one flaw, and you don't transition, there's a really good chance you're not going to get an install. If you're terrible at this and you don't say the right words but the order is right, you don't know exactly the right phrasing, but you move and transition, there's a higher chance you're going to get an install than if you do it the other way. So in any scenario, if your skills are not great but you move and transition, there's a better chance for you to get installs than if your skills are great and you don't transition. So that's key, make sure you remember that. So the transition here, after I show them everything, I'll always ask, I'll say, so last time I was here, did I get the payment information? Did we get the account that you guys want to use for payment already? Yes or no, whatever. Legitimately, a lot of times I just forget, so I'll just ask them. So I'll say, okay, they'll just use whatever account you want to use for the electricity payments. So it's just a voided check. If I already got it, great, I got it. If not, I'll get it right then. And then I'll say, then they'll just throw you on the next available install slot. We do it a little bit different where I've been working, but either way, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the fact that there's some emotion built up. The way we do it is we have a Google Doc, and I can pull it up and just show them when it's going to get installed. We have a slot 2 days from now, we're going to throw it in because we have same-day permitting in a lot of places. There's still times where if you have like 3 to 5 day permitting, you can do something like that. Again, I realize that it's different everywhere, but after you get the payment, just say, so they'll throw you in the next available install slot. We're going to send in that permit. I'll make sure you know what day that is. It doesn't take too long. It's not very involved. They just hop up and throw those up for you. So it's pretty simple, whatever. So again, it just has to be simple. It has to be easy. You have to move the sale forward. If you've done everything right up until this point, the CAD should be really simple. So